Hello friends, just Gary from the Morgue here. That's my little homage to the life and work of Jennifer Lopez. Ken just spoke to filmmakers Spider One and Krsy Fox about their new feature Big Baby, which has its UK premiere at Frightfest on Thursday, 27th of August. Their previous work includes Little Bites, starring such horror luminaries as Barbara Crampton, Heather Langenkamp and Bonnie Aarons. You might also know Spider from seminal rock band Powerman 5000, who soundtracked my repetitive strain injury from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater back in the 90s. Relax, pour yourself a drink if you enjoy fluids, and enjoy the interview.
Hello. Welcome to the Manchester Morgue. We are live at the Manchester Morgue. Well, not really live. This is also a Ken solo adventure because Gaz is taking part in his own horror movie. He's getting a tooth pulled out with, I assume, no anesthetic and in some sort of back alley somewhere. But I'm here solo to talk to the wonderful Spider One and Krsy Fox about their new movie, Big Baby. Welcome, guys.
Thank
Thank
you for having us.
you.
I am one of those fucking podcast morons, as the film so quite eloquently puts it, but don't worry, I really enjoyed the film.
And I'm sure you're not one of those podcast morons.
We all are. First of all, I want to hijack a movie podcast for a few seconds, just to mention that Tonight the Stars Revolt was a formative album for me, so thank you for that. And
Oh,
then, secondly, I want to say how much we love Little Bites on the podcast. Really
Thank
difficult to innovate and get new ideas from the vampire mythos, but that kind
wow.
of self-destructive cycle and of addiction and sacrifices of motherhood. Great, brilliant creature design. Chrissy was great.
you.
Everyone that's listening, go and watch Little Bites.
Well, I love to hear. Listen, we can just stop right now. I mean, it's just enough. It's thank you so much.
Great.
Uh,
So we're here today to talk about Big Baby, which is your new movie, which I think is doing the festival circuit over here. We've got Grimfest up north at Manchester. I believe it's screening there.
It's
Um,
Frightfest. Frightfest
Fright.
opening night, the 27th of
Okay.
August.
Everyone go there. Everyone in the UK go there. People from other countries fly over, go there, and then leave
Yeah,
immediately because this country is
exactly.
horrible.
No,
Um,
no, not at all. No, I just meant
uh,
leave immediately after our movie. That's all you need. Yeah.
yeah, of course, yeah. Um, okay, so tell us a little bit about the genesis of Big Baby, which kind of grew out of your Allegoria anthology, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, that you're exactly right. I mean, I'd made Allegoria in 2019, inserted the big baby concept as sort of a joke, honestly, as a movie within a movie. These two characters are watching, what is presented as a D level, horror movie called Big Baby. And the idea didn't want to die. People kept writing about how much they loved that part of the movie and whether they were being genuine or not, asking, when are we getting a big baby feature? When are we? And, I just brushed it off as being ridiculous. And then until one day it wasn't. And I was like, well, shit, maybe there is something here. Maybe there's something fun to do with this and, find a way, to make this absurd thing a real movie. And so, yeah, I started working on it and, had always been envious of the slasher genre and creating a cool character like that. Just, not unlike the character in the movie, that maybe he wasn't initially drawn to make a slasher, but there was something about it it's always been something I've watched and been intrigued with. So yeah, then it was just about trying to figure out a way into it. And then it began.
Well, the way in, I don't want to dwell on this too much. We mentioned it at the beginning because it's more of an inciting incident in the story that's kind of sets Adam on his path. But how do you guys feel about this kind of this vapid engagement hate of modern movie criticism that we have right now? Do you think it's just a different form of what we had before, or something much more destructive?
Well, I know Spider has thoughts on this too, but obviously the characters in this film are more those podcasters are more like that 1% that just we feel like don't even like movies or even watch the movies. They just want to hate on stuff and that, you know, but I do think generally like horror audiences are thoughtful and they really like even if they don't love something, they can see the good in it. And I do think though, like, because of the online, all there's all the, like TikTok and all these different things, people just need to realize that, making a film in general is impossible. It's so friggin' hard. The blood, sweat, and tears people put into it. So, I don't love every movie I see, but I love that it's made. And I really try to be appreciative of the fact that it exists because it contributes to, I say this in a lot of interviews. I'm like, I'm so excited at the end of the day, I'll call Spider and be like, hey, there's this new horror film dropped. We can watch it tonight, so I think just like maybe taking pause sometimes and just in general when it comes to especially independent films, like appreciating that they exist, but I do think like all the power now is with the fans, and in general, horror fans really, really love their genre and they're incredibly loyal. And as someone who goes to conventions and meets so many people in that world, whether they're fans, filmmakers, actors, it's like in general, it's the best community to be a part of.
Yeah.
And, you can't let those 1% of people that don't even really know what they're talking about affect you.
Yeah.
But
We spoke. Yeah, sorry, go
oh,
ahead,
sorry, I was
Spider.
going to say I appreciate you mentioning that it's sort of just an inciting incident because a lot's been made about that podcaster moment as if that's what the movie is about, and it really isn't. It's just a moment in the film, and it's taken on a life of its own, and sort of, which I guess makes sense by podcasters. That's what everyone's keying in on, and it really is just part of Adam's life. It's part of what comes with being a creative person is that you are getting these voices thrown at you. But it really isn't what the movie's about. I mean, the movie's more about his need to control everything and how losing that control is what sends him spiraling. But yeah, this notion of online criticism, and it is it was just a very interesting observation. As I made more movies, I became more and more aware of it and aware of the wide variety of voices out there. And I just think, well, again, it's a movie, so it's much more interesting to highlight that type of reviewer who is not very thoughtful than to, if I had the opening scene having him listen to a very thoughtful but well balanced podcast, well, we have nothing,
You
so
got no movie.
yeah. So I mean, but there are those voices out there, and they're honestly much worse than the ones we depicted in the movie. So it was just an interesting part of the character's life, more than anything.
Yeah. It kind of brings out more about his personality that we would like it's inciting for him on his life journey. I wanted to talk about. I'm going to skip ahead a bit to a question for Chrissy, because the character of Adam is brilliant, fantastically played. But tell me a bit about the character of Kate. I think in many ways she acts as a conscience for Adam, but there's definitely the edge of that element of being in a relationship with a volatile personality. His kind of undulating ego. She's trying to control it at the same time as trying to be there for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think that what was interesting about her character is rarely do I get to be like, the heart and the conscience of the movie and just sort of like I'm grounding Adam's character and, trying to positively push him forward. But at the same time, she is flawed and there's elements without spoiling too much where he's coming to her and telling her something that's happening to him and she doesn't believe him and she doesn't have his back. So I feel like in those ways she can almost be a villain throughout the story. And I thought that that was such an interesting, rather than just being like, oh, you're just the girlfriend and you're the victim, and those are fun characters too, but this was I had a lot more to like hold on to, and I felt like the emotional stakes of like their relationship felt really high. So when we get to the third act and things are falling apart, it was sort of a crazy moment, like shooting that sequence, the ending sequence, and I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, but just how emotional Brandon and I both got in those moments after like seeing these people go through what they've gone through to get to get to where they end up with it. I'm trying to not spoil this. And it was just so incredibly sad, and just I think that people have been surprised about the emotional weight and also like the psychological aspect of this film, which is one of the big I love slashers, and I love to get bloody, and I love getting limbs chopped off. That's so fun too, but like getting to also have like this other side that felt like The Shining or something, where it's like madness and emotional stakes. It was just such a fun character to play, and working with Brandon was so easy, if that makes sense. Like you go into any film feeling really prepared, and it's so nice when your scene partner, like, they really allow you to let everything that you thought you were going to do go, and you just are in the moment with them. And I felt like that was sort of how it was the whole film. And so yeah, it was just a special experience.
Yeah, and it's definitely it is a psychological horror. It's a slasher movie ancillary to what's kind of happening with Adam's psyche. Speaking of, I guess, the slasher influence, there's a nice mention of Scream early on, and I think it's safe to say that without spoiling much, the story gets pretty meta with its blurring of fiction and reality. Did you, Spider, did you want to deconstruct the genre in that way, or did you just want the genre to deconstruct Adam?
Oh wow, interesting. I mean, for me, it was I think finding a yeah, like sort of reverse engineering how to get my creative brain into a slasher film, right? So like, um, I think that involved a lot of self-examination, not only of myself but also of the genre as a whole, in finding a way to try to do a lot of things without with still keeping this movie in a almost simple fairy tale storytelling, but also shine a light on what it is to be a creative in this world, what it is to critique this world, what it is to struggle creatively. So it may be a combination of both things, but it was a fun way of accomplishing like sort of accomplishing a lot of things within one movie, but but the movie isn't necessarily that. All right, I'm not making any sense now, but I'm trying to get to a point where movie is not what the movie is. Okay, if that makes any sense.
It's
Probably
like
not.
that. It's Robert De Niro's speech from The Day Hunter. This is his. This is it. This is this. That's what you're trying to
Yeah. So I
say.
don't know. It was just a really it was a challenge but a really fun challenge in exploring different ways to make a horror movie within one horror movie. But for me, the character driven stuff is always the most important.
Hmm.
Because I think without that, and I think that's something that is sadly missing although it's changing in recent years. Because I think for a long time, I think the general consensus is making a horror movie is no one, you didn't have to worry about the characters and just get to the fun stuff. And being a more of a 70s cinema fan, where most great 70s movies were just character studies, that I wanted to try to do that in this movie with Kate and Adam's relationship and spending time with them. And I think that can be challenging for some audience members, but I think that ultimately, as Krsy mentioned, was that it brings weight for the emotional aspect of the movie by the time you get to the end of it. And I apologize, I just rambled for 40 minutes and probably made no
I
sense.
I think that
But
kind of
I just
brings
have
me.
there's so many thoughts that go on in my head when I'm excited to talk about this movie and what went into it. And I think that maybe there isn't an expectation that it is going to be just sort of this baseline goofy slasher movie, and then people see it and they're like, oh wait, okay, there's more to this, and I think that's exciting.
Yeah, and I think that kind of leads me directly into my next question, which was, as we get into the screenplay within a screenplay, there's an element of creator versus creation that emerges, not just with Adam and Big Baby, but I guess with both of their victims. So I guess, was this your attempt, or this is what I perhaps partially saw, was to dial down that bloodlust that we have as a viewer and kind of start to feel for these characters again? Because that back in the 70s when slashers were reaching prominence, we did actually care for the characters. It's only later into the 80s that we just started seeing them as fodder.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I know that, we are in 2026, so, and I think I'll credit Chrissy for nudging me that no, we need to show more violence and gore and blood. I mean, because yeah, I would get sort of fixated on the other stuff because to me, it's more fun and challenging to dive into that part of the movie than to, yeah, we chop the head off and we, whatever, like that stuff's great fun, but the other stuff was always more compelling for me. But yeah, there is always a realization that, you do need that other visceral stuff for a modern audience. So it was a challenge to balance both. I mean, I definitely always joke about, a lot of horror movies, the character development begins and ends at like mom died and dad got a new job and we're moving to a new town. And that's kind of all you get to hear about. Like that's it. And then we're off to killing some people. And so I just wanted to show like these two people with a real like lived in life together and like, and that you get the sense that they really do know each other really well. And some of the conversations they have are very specific, as you do with someone that you live with and and that you've spent years with potentially. So that was always really important to me, for this movie and these characters.
Yeah.
Also, though, like not to mention like when we go to like chopping heads off, the fun thing about this film too is like that we really got to live in like the practical effects world, which was like, because you get to do the character study, but also like I just have to say like our effects team, Little Shop of Gore, they were insane and we got to like really show things, I really pushed Spider and he let me. I'm like, I really want to show details. And so that was like my horror nerd side that I'm like, this is so fun that we get to like come up with all these different ways that these people get it from Big Baby. So
Spider's working on character development, humanity, and you're like, we haven't chopped anyone's head off in like 10 pages.
That's exactly right. I'm the girl who's like, kill them all. And he's just like, oh, he always wants like the happy ending. So yeah. We always, it's actually good. We're a good balance for each other because we usually meet somewhere in the middle.
And the Big Baby mask was great. I found myself, what I like about horror movie masks is when you try to look beyond it. And I found myself in a couple of scenes like, what is the mouth doing? Is there a mouth in there? And it's very creepy.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, that was something I took very seriously in terms of because I think sometimes there's a tendency that oh, just slap a mask on somebody and that's enough. And I think that there's an aesthetic and color choice and design that really come into play in creating something that's memorable and also works with the story. There are, not to give away any spoilers, but like there is a reason why he chooses that mask and why he takes on this persona as a big baby. And it's not just a random choice. So yeah. And I think that it's great that you do get to see his eyes and his mouth, and it just makes it kind of grosser and weirder than
It does.
had it been covered. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess as we've mentioned, there's a lot of genre DNA. There's a lot of genre knowledge running through Big Baby. So I wanted to ask both of you what are your biggest influences of as filmmakers in the genre at the moment?
Like who is our biggest influences or like other
Styles,
films?
styles, filmmakers of the films.
It's really interesting. We just because we have a young daughter who loves horror movies, and I showed her a lot of stuff. She watches pretty much everything and is very unbothered by it, just loves it like we do. Um, and so we just rewatched all like the Evil Deads from the beginning, and
Oh,
I
great.
think just watching the first Evil Dead and the way Sam Raimi just did something that nobody else was doing and how scary and like visceral that was. I feel like he had even more of an influence on me than I even think I realized initially. And just like revisiting it and watching it again through like my daughter's eyes and hearing her react. So definitely that, I I was lucky enough to get to, be part of that Terrifier universe and watching like Damien Leone, like just like the way he is so involved and in the practical effects and in the creation of Art the Clown. And I think that just some of these modern filmmakers now are coming out and they're doing something like how Sam Raimi did something totally different back then. Like, and so I think that I just love when someone just surprises me. I think that that's why people love Obsession so much, because it's a great story and it's a simple idea that was became like such a larger concept. And I think that, the way he shot that film and the way he lit her eyes. And so
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk about that all day long, but I just love seeing, like, going back and revisiting old things that I loved and like I haven't watched in a long time, and then realizing now there's all these modern filmmakers who are doing new inventive things. It's really exciting.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm a huge Kubrick nut, so I love that. It's probably shows and some of the pacing that I choose. I love to just live in a moment, maybe a few seconds longer than you should, just because I think it creates a level of tension. I think modern filmmaking tends to be like, just move on, move on, move on. And
Yeah.
I feel like the opposite of that, because also, again, as I referenced, I'm in such a child of the 70s, and I just that sort of realism in that character study stuff. So, and I also love, discovering, when I was a kid, there would always be these weird, like, 70s like TV movie, made for TV horror movies, and they always had such a bizarre, like, unnerving quality to them. And I think it's because they couldn't show explicit gore and violence, but they would create tone and atmosphere. And so that has always been the most important thing to me. Because I love that, whether it's Rosemary's Baby or Suspiria, those kind of movies where, yeah, it's just a feeling of dread and as if something's always coming, something's always around the next corner. And I think that the 70s was the decade that did that the most and the most effectively. So that stuff always is probably will be my biggest influence.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You can certainly see that in Big Baby. So, Big Baby is coming for us, not arrived just yet, stalking us from behind the fourth wall, as so to
In the
speak.
room. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, I was not going to say that. But yeah. So after kind of Big Baby, what is on the horizon for you guys?
Oh, who knows? I mean, I've got a couple of things ready to go that I'd love to shoot. I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you I am working on Big Baby 2, just to have it in my back pocket, in case the people start asking for it. I'd love to do that. But filmmaking's interesting. Sometimes you don't know what's next. You may have something you think is going to happen, and then it's something else takes over, and but there will be a next film sooner than later.
Good, good,
Yeah.
good. How about yourself, Chrissy?
I'm headed to shoot a film in a month, so I'm gonna be going to do that just as an actor, and then yeah, hopefully we're diving in right after that into our next film. Like I said, we have several, I have stuff that I've written. I think Spider has two films ready to go and working on Big Baby 2. So selfishly, I kind of, because we've been living in Big Baby world, I'm hoping it's Big Baby 2. But we kind of, yeah, I think we've been surprised almost every time where we think it's going to be this certain film, and then it ends up taking, a total different direction, and we end up doing a different film. So we have options. I can't wait, but I know, like, the goal is to have something new next year. So
That's great. That's great to hear. I certainly want to see more work from both of you. I think we can end that here.
All
Fright
right.
Fest. When was Fright Fest again? I've already
August
forgotten.
27th, opening
August
night.
27th, opening
Mhm.
night, Big Baby. Everyone who's listening, go and stream Little Bites. Um, yeah. So
Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
thank you very much for coming, guys.
All
Um,
right, thanks, man. Appreciate
and
it.
we'll let you know when the episode is out.
Please do. Please do. Awesome.
Thank
Thank you
you.
again.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.